Plays so much up, still up, and also Kai'Sa. We saw an incredible performance in game 1 today from Uzi on this champion. We'll see if Slay can do something similar.
Very interesting to see it jump up as a first pick. To me, the big question mark for Team Liquid would be whether they just played with a very strong winning 2v2 bot lane. That was what I was hoping to see. The AD carry choice, we've seen this matchup a couple of times on the Kog'Maw side, doing better at MSI. To me, this matchup is less about Kog'Maw beats Kai'Sa, as if you can get the support advantage, a range support into a melee, something along like that, those lines, that's where the true power is unlocked.
Yep, certainly can be the case now. If this is the lock-in for Liquid, Xmithie's most common jungler so far in this tournament has been the Trundle. We're yet to see a Graves coming out from YiJin, so he could make that champion number 7. And if you're kind of looking at range potential supports or strong lane supports, Braum is one that kind of jumps out to me, given that the Morgana has been banned away and Rakan is taken off the table too.
Well, the Graves is banned away, the Kha'Zix is not, and that's the duo that people really seem to like into the Trundle. No surprise, Stark says, I'm sticking to being a one-trick. I'm going to jump onto the Ornn one more time, but the Kha'Zix all-in potential on the Trundle will make Xmithie have to double think some of his choices, as well, Shen would be a very obvious choice for him.
It looks like Liquid going very much towards comfort once again. It was this champion that enabled them to find that win over RNG, and they did have the winning 2 versus 2. You talked a lot about it, Papasmithy, these support picks. And remember that because Liquid has first pick in the second half of the draft, they could actually pinch the support pool even further, get themselves a guaranteed winning support matchup, and then make life difficult for Slay and Ron in the bottom lane.
The other percentage choice is to just look for a mid laner you feel Pobelter can perform on. And if I think to Liquid strengths, I want to see Pobelter on one of these control mid laners that basically are kind of unflappable, and then leave last pick to counter pick for Olleh, who does have that big pool of range supports. Pobelter's kind of been picking for himself and picking for the team, neither of which have really inspired confidence so far at MSI.
Well, as we head into the second part of the bans now, the focus will be on those mid laners. Vlad could play in the top lane as well, but he'll be banned away from the side of EVOS. Team Liquid taking Cassiopeia off the table. We'll see how they want to approach this last ban of the draft. Remember, their opponents have drafted AD carry, jungle, and top lane, so it's going to be a support or a mid laner that they want to get out of here, and it will be Rise. They want none to do that.
A part of me feels like Liquid is thinking about the Tahm Kench right now. You would have the double global aspect of the Tahm and the Shen. It is one of Olleh's comfort champions too, and it always is nice to have that extra bit of protection for the Kog'Maw, but it concerns me about the amount of laning value that it provides with you, and if they do go for that, it will mitigate some of the early strength that Liquid has.
But the Taliyah would fit what I was hoping for, which was let's counter pick for Olleh, guarantee that good matchup, and find a roaming map utility carry in the Taliyah. We'll see what the answer is, but the Cassiopeia, of course, is the normal pick for Warzone. They've been trying to craft a lot of Cassiopeia comps. That's banned away. The Taliyah can assist with the bot lane. Now we're looking on EVOS to decide what they're actually going to be pairing with their Kai'Sa.
We'll see how they want to assist her here. She will have the Karma to help her out there from the mid lane, but in terms of the laning phase, it's RonOP on the Alistar that'll be doing all the favors. As the Tahm Kench you were thinking about, not the best laning, but could provide that global power, that Kog'Maw save potential if they lock it in.
Now, it's not a range support that sounds like it's contra to my point, but actually, it's a pretty safe time to take Tahm Kench into the Alistar, and you have the guaranteed backup of the Taliyah roaming bot lane. So you kind of gave yourself a bit of protection to get away with the Tahm Kench rather than drafting Tahm at DoubleLift's pick and then getting counterpicked on the blue side.
So for EVOS, they've drafted a composition which is all about Slay. You have the Karma in the mid lane, you have decent engage tools with the Ornn, you can look to play through bot lane because you have Kha'Zix who provides a lot of early damage, and an engage with the Alistar, and basically you're relying on Slay to get to this 3-item point, very similar to Uzi earlier in the day, and being the big carry. Whereas for Liquid, they're slightly varied.
Slightly, but I think you're giving a bit too much lip service to a Taliyah. This is very much all about DoubleLift, Shen ult, the Devour. Everything's going to be loaded on the bot side as well. The way they get there, the way they get to playing around bot side is different. Kha'Zix can get an invade advantage and then create no-go zones in the jungle, whereas on the side of Liquid, it's very much about piling in one by one and really helping out that little Kog'Maw.
but I also feel that Liquid have the ability to play 1-3-1, and with the Tahm, Kench, and a Taliyah, it is very easy to move from lane to lane, and I think that's one of the big differences between the two comps, that so far Team Liquid have not been able to successfully make work. Up against EVOS Esports, maybe they can find that ability, but the last time they met, they couldn't get out of the lane phase.
1-5, the record for both of these rosters, looking to bring that number up to a 2 here today to start things off on day number 4. Get the ball rolling, start coming back, making a run for one of those knockout stage spots. Only 2 more days left to play in the group stage. Said it before, I'll say it again. You've got to start moving now if you want to try to get there. We're heading on to Summoner's Rift now to see which one of these teams can come out on top. Remember the first time they met, it was EVOS that found the win. That is their sole win so far, was against Team Liquid.
They continue to evolve. That EVOS lineup was all about initiation CC with the Zac, the Ornn, the dive they had at the time. This time it's a more balanced comp, and we end up with Karma versus Taliyah in the mid lane, and this Karma could go for an early banner of command, and that was the build, and that was the build path that really started to push Taliyah out of the meta, because she's all about the shove. Now Karma has shove, she has safety, and she can itemize banner of command early, makes things tricky for Pobelter.
Also going to be keeping eyes on that Kai'Sa the whole time, seeing when he hits that point of just taking over every team fight with the incredible scaling the champion has, or if DoubleLift will be able to position himself in a spot where he can become that one-man wrecking crew on the Kog'Maw. No crazy level 1s so far, though.
And we haven't hit that 1 minute 30 mark.
That is fair, that is fair.
That seems
It's not time for the delayed invade.
It's just crazy that the time has gone from about 40-second invades to very much around the spawn of buffs. We will see another invade, and almost feels like the safest way to play League of Legends, according to the scrim meta here, is to invade and guarantee yourself something, one big buff on the map.
And note here that RonOP has dropped a ward on his red buff as well to offer that bit of assistance. Impact is very aware that Team Liquid's red is being stolen. Now he'll get an early trade.
Finds a brief amount of damage onto Stark. The bone plating will block some of it, but YiJin walks away with the red buff, which is exactly what he came for. And you can see Xmithie just moving from his blue onto his Gromp, not trying to fast path towards that enemy red.
Now, unfortunately, gentlemen, I feel like this early game isn't going to be the most riveting.
No.
Level 6, perhaps we could see a bit of action, but when you kind of do your sweep across the map, you look in the middle lane, you just see wave clear. You look up at the top lane, you got 2 tanks mainly just clearing, and 2 junglers that really don't really want to try and have a huge amount of early impact until they hit that level 6 mark and can offer a little bit more value. So eyes kind of geared towards the bottom side of the map where we could see a little bit more skirmishing and playing, but for the most part I'm expecting a very slow early game.
Games like this where they are relatively bloodless, the one fight that may happen is around those wards around the mid lane approaching the bot side of the map, where people will have access to the Taliyah. Weaver's Wall around 6, just the preparation. So while level 6 is when things turn on, 4 and 5, where the junglers may actually fight tooth and nail for a control ward spot to allow that roam to bot lane, might actually be worth respecting.
You know, and you mentioned those wards around the middle lane too, Papasmithy, because the last time these two teams met, a lot of focus was put in towards the middle lane from YiJin. He was playing the Zac, and he was just permanently ganking Pobelter and inhibiting his ability to really contribute to the map.
Came in there and again, but it was a bloody game. You know, 1 champion kill per minute, as is reflected there. Let you know that had a lot of kills going on, whereas this one, as you mentioned already, we're place setting for perhaps a bit more of a thinking man's game as it goes on.
And I like what we're seeing from both these mid laners so far as well. Every time one of the junglers goes to invade, take away a couple camps from the other side, it's always the mid laner following up in their wake to drop down some vision and just protect them in case there is that collapse. YiJin thinking about going for those Krugs. There we go, but he will be spotted out by the ward, so at least for Team Liquid, they're keeping track of where he's at.
Already level 4 for YiJin. His early pattern is giving him that slight level advantage over Xmithie, who will, after picking his walls, likely close that gap just a little bit, but very much as we expected. Kind of a slow start, a lot of farming being prioritized, and DoubleLift and Olleh actually putting a lot of pressure down onto this Kai'Sa.
They saw Kha'Zix on the top side, so they know it's pretty free to walk up and just go for the harass. They don't have to respect any level of gank, and into the communication's been a lot better. It's good to see them poke around and make plays like this, and once again, we'll have to wait longer to evaluate the matchup, but now with 2 tank supports to complement the Kai'Sa and Kog'Maw, not expecting a 40 CS lead like we saw in the first matchup between these two, first game of MSI.
You know, and we hear a lot about the Kha'Zix into Kog'Maw, why Kog'Maw is such a big kind of counter to the Kha'Zix. One of the main reasons is the range differential. The thing about Kha'Zix is she only has about 525 range, one of the lowest for many AD carries, and while she does compensate that for mobility, you don't get that until later in the game. So with someone like a Kog'Maw who can just press his W, every time you try to last hit, the Kog'Maw is going to hit you in the face, and that just means that you steadily get poked out of lane, and farming becomes a rather challenging task.
We've all seen Kha'Zix have some pretty incredible healing later on in the game with some lifesteal from something like a Death's Dance, but during the laning phase, it can be hard to stay topped off versus that constant harass that you bring up there, Vedius, as DoubleLift and Olleh will move up to the tri-brush, throw down a little vision, just making sure EVOS isn't up to anything tricky here with YiJin. As Xmithie makes his way towards the mid lane, he will find that control ward there, spotted out with the Scryer's Bloom, knock that one down real quick. Seismic Shove makes its way onto Warzone, who loses quite a lot of HP to Pobelter.
Now it feels like TL pretty heavily control the bot side of the map. I wonder how early a Drake contest could happen, but now at least you see Xmithie is feeling out around the bot side. They don't have any all-in options. The Trundle pillar is not going to be enough to take anyone down, and like I mentioned, with no one visiting bot side, the Drake's pretty free.
Looks like Xmithie doesn't need any help on this one for now. Look to solo that one down as the Trundle, but chooses to pull it out a little bit first. Wants to make sure that nobody can just jump over the wall and start going ham on him. Has to have that escape route should his opponents be able to collapse here. Pobelter with level 6 available, hanging around the area. DoubleLift and Olleh also working their way up here just to make sure it's safe for Xmithie to get it down within smiteable range. Now, of course, Xmithie could have soloed that if he smites early for health, but you want to make sure you've got it to guarantee your team gets the
And they have the pressure down bot, so it's quite easy for Olleh to roam up towards the dragon and help secure that. So early advantage gained for Team Liquid, but you know, you talked a lot about Xmithie there, Captain Flowers, and I feel like he will be one of the pivotal players coming into this matchup. Coming into the tournament, he was one of my players to watch, considering like how much respect and recognition he's had within the North American LCS. I hear everything about how intelligent he is and how willing to change he is to make sure that he does everything he can for the team's success.
Got the big brain. He's always one of the guys trying to make sure everybody can work together, everybody can flow as a 5-man squad. Hopefully, for him and Liquid's sake, they can make that happen this time around. YiJin hitting level 6, evolving that active camouflage. This is the point. It's such a pain point for so many people playing against Kha'Zix. He's so hard to keep track of. Once that evolution comes online, running around between the brushes, dodging even the side of control wards, RonOP had but pulverized down on the DoubleLift, but the instant save from Olleh.
When it comes to that big brain, the big brain from Xmithie led into some vertical jungling where TL controlled the bot side of the map. That's where there's a relevant objective pre-10 minutes. So they got the Drake. Meanwhile, we were watching YiJin. He got a couple of camps. He stole a red buff, but there wasn't the same value top side. They can't dive with an Ornn who doesn't really care if he can overextend a bit more. Now let's see if TL can double down on bot side and looking for RonOP.
4 versus 1 against an Alistar with no ultimate. Ignite already going to be used. Pulverize tries to flash, but still brought down. Pobelter cashing in on the first blood there. Stand United going to be used now as it will break out into a full-on fight. Xmithie dropping a subjugation, keeping himself alive. YiJin going to be the one ulted there. Stark still looking to go in. Maybe find some frontline work here. But Team Liquid, they move out as a unit. They get what they came for, and they might even look for a little bit more. The red buff now taken, given over to Impact.
Case in point about it being all about bot lane. 10 members of bot lane pre-8 minutes. Pick up a kill. Impact just wanted to join the party. Wanted to be the perfect 10. They don't get anything bonus apart from the red buff on the exit, and that'll allow Impact to trade even better with Star.
And the thing is, Team Liquid were already setting up to play towards the red buff. The bonus here is they recognize, oh, Slay is going back to base. If I can just interrupt one of these recalls, then we can actually set up a fairly successful dive, because now the heal isn't available. Ron is still sticking around,
greedy.
And it's just a huge mistake, because he had plenty of time to get out of this situation, and it makes it easy for TL to find the kill.
And you have to think they knew the table setting, which was, hey, we control the top side. TL, they have power bot side. He could have just continued to run away. He didn't. It was a bit more love taps at the end of it, but not going to be a kill from that. But it seemed pretty easy. If he had the right map read, RonOP would have got out fine.
Well, failing to have that read means Team Liquid cashes themselves in on first blood, gets a small gold lead from it, just about the 600 gold that you would expect from the kill plus assist. No other side gains made from that one, as you will see DoubleLift move back towards the lane. He's got the pickaxe, got the recurve bow, working towards that Ginsu's.
But one of the big things is that a lot of summoner spells were used. Many of the globals now unavailable, many things on cooldown as well. One of the big differences is that Pobelter has his ulti up. So if Team Liquid wanted to, with the amount of poke that they're getting down to this bot tower, I feel like a bot lane play would be the next best option for them.
YiJin moves up, drops the control ward there. Pobelter hanging around at just the right time to see it pop up. Realizes YiJin's there, pops the control ward, while also staying on the other side of the river to keep himself in a good spot, as Stark will have a difficult time dealing with impact as long as this red buff persists, but it should expire soon and put that lane back to more of a state of equilibrium.
Warzone's shops so far have been very much piecemealing things together. CDR boots working towards, you would assume, a tier with the Sapphire Crystal and the Fairy Charm. The Banner of Grand, if it's to come, will be a lot later into the game, which allows Pobelter more time to roam. Speaking of roams,
Warzone wanting to go in on this one. Pobelter caught out and punished. No summoners available means they can make that play.
Exactly that, Captain Flowers. They recognized the mid lane had nothing up, and they wanted to repeat the same kind of plays that they made in the past. So good play there from EVOS. They get their first kill on the board.
YiJin smites away that Scuttle Crab before Impact shows up to scare him away, but YiJin showing that, hey, you can make a play, we can make a play too. Getting in there, punishing Pobelter as RonOP shoves away the Team Liquid bottom lane, trying to provide some time for Slay to farm up down here. And I want to go back to what you talked about earlier, Vedius, how Kai'Sa has a lot of tools in the kit, but they come online later. So for now, it's Slay and RonOP's turret that's dangerously close to going down.
They're so happy to overextend, controlling the bot side, and while we do see an answering kill and the kill score reads 1-1, the TL fans can be happy about the fact that overall when it comes to the neutrals, they've got a lot of damage, a lot of standing gold available on the bot side. They've taken the Drake, they're in best position for the next one, and once again, they're just trying to absolutely own the bot side of the map.
Xmithie eating the empowered inner flame there from Warzone's Karma, backs himself out, trying to just harass his opponent a little bit there in the chicken pit. Olleh takes the opportunity, seeing multiple opponents hanging around the mid lane to clear out some of the control wards as first turret goes over to the side of Team Liquid.
Stark still doesn't have teleport up, Impact has his ult up, so this was very easy play for TL to make. Does mean also with all the gold loaded onto DoubleLift, the Rage Blade will be available on next back. They can continue hitting the map. They have the 1-3-1 of Taliyah and Shen ready to go. So the first turret probably leads to the second one a lot quicker than the 11 minutes it took to get the first one suggests.
And you saw in the gold lead, it's 1,300 of a lead for DoubleLift over Slay. A massive difference between these AD carries. And considering they're both rushing for a very important item in that Ginsu's Rage Blade, if Team Liquid can find that power point and then look for a fight, could be very big for them. YiJin invading towards Xmithie now, looking to maybe steal away this red buff. Xmithie completely unaware.
Oh, and he steals it.
And it gets stolen.
Good burst damage there from YiJin.
Criminal.
Uses the stealth to his advantage. I wanted to make a note of the fact that Olleh actually went base first and started grouping up with his team. Thought he might look for an ulti play, perhaps force some kind of action on the map, but everyone from EVOS playing a little too defensively. And while Xmithie did lose his red buff, you can see a bit of vision being set up around the river from Team Liquid because they want to contest the red buff from EVOS, along with taking a dragon for themselves.
Drake should be pretty easy takings here for Liquid. There's no one remotely in the vicinity from EVO, so with two clouds now under their belt, the team will have that much more rotational power and kiting ability.
And because YiJin Prize getting a red buff, he wasn't in position to actually take the Rift Herald, to take a topside thing. They don't know YiJin's here.
He just got right past Xmithie thanks to the timing to set himself up behind his opponents. This could be disastrous for Liquid if it doesn't play out correctly, as now EVOS find themselves jumped on. It's going to be Pobelter looking to make the moves here as the Stand United comes in from Impact as well. Ornn ultimate going to be used. Stark's part of this fight. Everybody showing up here as they look to steal away the red buff. Yet again, they want to give it to DoubleLift if they can. That will go over to him. Team Liquid get themselves out.
Now, DoubleLift was hanging around the bottom side of the map, which means that Slay was free to hit on this top lane tower. If Team Liquid cannot convert this into anything, they will have used a lot of resources for a red buff in exchange for a tier 1 tower.
No Weaver's Wall to try to push people away from defending and then have Kog'Maw open up. So take your point, Vedius. I feel like previously TL have been trading up. This is a bit of a trade down. Does make the game a bit more into equivalence, but I think overall, YiJin's been very focused on selfish objectives like red buffs and things for himself, and the two Cloud Drakes kind of the biggest thing to stick out between the two teams.
And remember the last time YiJin did play the Kha'Zix, it was that game 1 of the tournament where the Flash Walls completely obliterated him.
Did he play Kha'Zix that game?
That's a good. He had a mouse and keyboard.
He selected Kha'Zix in Champions.
He selected Kha'Zix, exactly that, Flowers. And unfortunately, he didn't have the same kind of impact that he would have liked to, because during the regular season, Kha'Zix was actually one of his comfort picks. It was something that he was feared for. It was something that coming into the tournament, many teams weren't really considered to give him. But after day 1's performance, people weren't that afraid of it anymore. And now playing this selfish style, we'll see if it bears fruit for the team of EVOS, who are desperately looking for a win.
And you saw a couple of these players, YiJin as well, who had these really big undefeated runs on Kha'Zix. And given the pro meta in recent months, you thought, that doesn't really mean much. We're not going to see Kha'Zix this tournament. I think increasingly, Kha'Zix, Kindred, the Graves, these champions who have the dueling advantage are being turned into map advantages because of their ability to control space and control camps. And that's why the Kha'Zix is actually a very relevant pick still.
But the problem is, guys, if we get too far into this game,
True.
where his only goal is to assassinate a Taliyah or a Kog'Maw with Tahm Kench, with Shen, with Trundle protecting them, life can become pretty difficult for that Kha'Zix to find those big damage openings towards those targets.
Remember that his responsibility in fights is to do this. Jump into the back line, chunk a target out, and then jump out again. That immediately gives you pressure and an ability to set up, whether it be for the next team fight or an objective. And EVOS can still rely on Slay as that late game threat. Rageblade has been completed, and
Ooh, gets
YiJin
the
does it
summoner
again.
heal. That's going to force both carries back. Right as I say, it could be difficult to find your way onto them. He makes his way point blank towards both Liquid carries.
And that play is so unique to Kha'Zix, because if you think about it, he basically forced 2 carries to recall for free. There was no potential for any sort of reiteration, and doing that, being able to chunk out 2, allows them to really get a nice spot on the map. Taliyah just now answering is, okay, map play.
Stark wanting to get away from this one, but it's going to be the bottom lane from Team Liquid coming in, looking to help him out. YiJin now caught in a spot he does not want to be in. Ornn ultimate comes back over. DoubleLift now going to be in some trouble. Remember, he doesn't have the heal. Popped that one earlier when YiJin found him in his own jungle. Stark finds a little bit more damage. DoubleLift going to be forced to flash. RonOP wanting to come around as well. DoubleLift no summoners whatsoever. Pillar of Filth blocks the follow-up from EVOS, but RonOP is already behind them, looking to cut them off. He wants to go for DoubleLift, but this is protect the package right now for Team Liquid. Get the VIP to safety, hug the wall, we'll get you out of here, they say. As DoubleLift makes his way into the brush, looking to back out. YiJin's going to be discovered. They want to make sure he can't manipulate double invisibility to sneak his way towards that Kog'Maw, as Stark and Warzone will push up the bottom side.
But while all this is happening, Slay is free farming in the middle lane. He now has a level advantage over DoubleLift and has been able to get a decent amount of damage down onto this mid-tier 1. Team Liquid, they're trying to use the number of globals that they have to force picks onto EVOS, but YiJin is dissuading them every single time and utilizing this early Kha'Zix damage to win out on these skirmishes.
Yeah, when you're forcing the enemy team to tunnel on escorting out the MVP, that's when Slay can pick up the farm. He's able to get a lot of turret damage in the mid lane as well, as Pobelter was caught between having to use his Weaver's Wall to defend and returning to lane. YiJin returns, he's still being a pest.
Slay also now critically hitting that point where you've got your E evolution on the Kai'Sa. The Berserker's Greaves, Ginsu's Rageblade, 3 daggers to go along with it. Now he's got that extra outplay, I should call it, potential in the fights. He can go into the stealth. He can get himself out of tricky situations. While DoubleLift without those summoner spells on the Kog'Maw, that's a juicy target.
Think of the double stealth capabilities, right? So you're DoubleLift, just sitting there, you're having fun, and then all of a sudden an ult hits you, and then 2 carries appear out of nowhere onto the backline and look to burst you down.
Sounds like quite the gameplay experience.
Yeah, right. It's quite a terrifying setup, and you do have the Void Hunter versus the Void Monster himself.
He's a dog.
I know he's a dog with this skin, but his lore dictates he is a Void. He's from the Void, okay? So we'll see if the Hunter will become the hunted in this game.
All right, we'll see how the lore can play out here on Summoner's Rift today. We still have, like you guys predicted, a rather uneventful early game in terms of the kills. It's only 1-1, but it could be more here very soon. RonOP tries to go in. Olleh using the Devour to keep his AD carry safe, flashing out, lending a flash to DoubleLift there as well. Ornn ult comes through. Impact trying to get himself away. The Weaver's Wall blocks out his path. He has to flash. Heal comes through. Pobelter with that one, as Team Liquid gets themselves out, but they have to expend quite a few resources doing it.
Fact, had to use a lot of resources to get out there. He just kind of walked in, YiJin hoping to assassinate him on the back end. TL trying to make this map as narrow as possible. Stop that assassination we previewed from happening.
And I think one of the big things here is that EVOS, they tried to just punish someone who was out of position, whereas Team Liquid had to use a lot to get out of that situation. So now, as the Dragon is being started, they're looking to fight.
YiJin wants to come in, do something about this one. Pobelter taken incredibly low. Stand United going to be used, keeping him safe. RonOP front line taken down. No ult means Alistar just can't do it. Stark wants to come around from the flank, but the Dragon's already going to be taken. And Team Liquid finds themselves a fight and a reward.
And this was the problem for EVOS. Stark was trying to come in from the flank without his ultimate. Like, you cannot try to do a pincer attack if you have nothing to attack from one side.
And they actually created temporary terrain with the Trundle pillar and fought behind it as if it was a wall. And that meant with no Ornn ultimate to impact positioning, they were fighting front to back. DoubleLift was free hitting. Good news for TL.
This means Team Liquid find themselves a free fight, and just keep your eyes on the mini-map because Shen, he goes back up to top lane, but he has his ulti available. Stark pushes out bot, and YiJin goes in without the full capabilities of his team. That means that Team Liquid, as you rightly identified, Papasmithy, the pillar allows them to chase down the enemy roster, find themselves another kill, and they secure an ocean.
We cut the replay short, but if you think of Stark having ult available while they clumped into 4, kiting backwards, that's where Ornn really decides the fight. Ornn ult down, not possible. That execution was the wrong time.
And it leads Team Liquid into another situation where they come out slightly favored, but they've got these Drakes piling up. Next one's going to be another Ocean. And the first one was taken early enough this game that we could see 5 Elemental Drakes. And if the game goes on long enough, that's a massive Elder Drake if Liquid continues this neutral objective control. Speaking of neutral objectives, Baron now live on the table, so we'll see if anybody wants to get creative with their ways to approach and secure that.
Now you can see Team Liquid splitting up the map right now. Pobelter sitting up on the top side, just pushing in the waves, and you have Impact down in bot, who does have the teleport available. This was the situation that Team Liquid wanted to play multiple times throughout this tournament, but ended up falling apart, and a large part of that was because Pobelter got caught out of position, and YiJin, he's one of the people that can catch you.
He can also find himself caught. The Bug's got to be careful not to get squashed. Has to try to flash away. The follow-up from Pobelter puts him in the grave, and that's a pretty important pick for Team Liquid.
YiJin trying to be very fancy. He was in a very advanced brush, but Team Liquid aren't cutting through their jungle in the same way you would against basically any other jungler. Go where you have allies. Go through the river where you are safer because there is less brush to be looked through. Teleport coming through the mid lane, just try to keep the turret up. DoubleLift and Team Liquid would love to take this mid lane turret and make the Kha'Zix more accountable by making the lanes longer.
Love to do it. They're already there. Team Liquid put another objective under their belts, go up to about a 4,000 gold lead. Now as Slay's going to be found out by Pobelter here in the top side. A lot of damage coming through from both sides. Seismic shove going to be sidestepped. Pobelter barely keeping himself alive. And Impact shows up at the last possible moment, keeping his buddy safe. Ornn ultimate misses. Stark is here now as well, but he may have just arrived into his own death, having to pop the flash to walk away.
Minion wave so far away, there's nothing to carry them forward to get the kill, but once again, EVOS are on the back foot. Once again, they've tried to make a play, but Slay was found alone, and that's another great use of the Shen ultimate. That time the outnumbering was the difference.
And what was gained here for Team Liquid was flash out from Stark, flash out from Slay, and this was just Slay trying to get relevant into the game. He's now on 2 items. He comes close to killing Pobelter, and he might have done it if Pobelter didn't have both the shield from Shen and his Seraphs, that's the Badger. And unfortunately for Slay, he wasn't able to get out of that situation, and it cost his team quite a hefty summoner spell.
Again, this year not as common on the Shen, but a very big classic pick for Impact. I think the North American analysts have had it best in that, yep, sometimes when it comes to lane assignments, Pobelter and Impact, things can get tricky. But with the Shen ultimate papering over some of those cracks, it's been able to be a lot cleaner here, as they do have backup for Pobelter this time.
And being from NA, a region that enjoys a fiesta every now and again, I love Shen as a pick because he's got the ability to come to the party no matter where he might be. As soon as he hears it in the distance, he's like, I'm there. I'm going to be a part of that. And Impact shows up big to keep his buddy alive.
Now you make me want Party Animal Shen skin.
That would be a great that would be a great skin.
All right.
I would buy that. I don't even play Shen.
That's one freebie for Riot Games from me.
To me, you look like the real life Shen, because you're always at all the parties, Captain Flowers.
Well,
if anything, you're the life of them.
I stand united with my friends, exactly like Impact did, coming in clutch there, 1-0-1. He's got the farm advantage over his opponent. He's got the Titanic Hydra with the Banner of Command, so really big, effective split pusher here if left alone in those side lanes, but at the same time, it feels bad to split against him when he's got two different ways to join the fight.
Exactly that. The teleport is up and available as his ulti is about to be soon. He has gone for a very common split bush build with the Titanic Hydra along with the Banner of Command. And now, with the lack of TP on Stark, Stark is forced to group with the rest of his team, so Team Liquid, they never have to force a fight. They can just allow Impact to chip away at these towers and just split EVOS across the map.
Now we return to this minigame of how's your Baron setup looking, as we already had a couple of hairy ones today. We'll see if Team Liquid, with all this pressure bot side, can set one up, because now we know Stark can't be there, so that's pretty good news for TL.
And I want to throw back to Team Liquid's one win that they've got so far in the group stage that they found against RNG. They almost threw it Baron by not setting up and executing properly. Xmithie had an absolutely incredible smite steal away to make sure they maintain control of the game, but Liquid's got to make certain that they're doing this Baron right, if that is the next step in their plan. Pobelter throws out the Weaver's Wall, looking to catch somebody out. It's RonOP that's been discovered for now. YiJin wants to get DoubleLift for the back line. He does find him, takes him very low. Olleh's got the Devour, keeping him safe. RonOP still getting out. DoubleLift maybe run down by the Ornn ultimate, barely going to be sidestepping that one. More damage coming through. Xmithie taken low now as well. DoubleLift trying to get out, but YiJin wants to come around. Stand United can come through. DoubleLift will be protected by that one, but Xmithie will not. YiJin has to jump out. Stark still going to be on the front line. Olleh drops to Slay. Xmithie very low. DoubleLift even lower. YiJin already dead. Xmithie still looking to find some damage. Now on to Stark. Impact front lining. It's 1 for 1. 1 for 2.
Team Liquid just about think their way out of a corner, but man, it was a corner of their own making. They used the Weaver's Wall super prematurely. Even seemed surprised at how it started with the headbutt. It seemed like they were super out of position. DoubleLift almost dies in transition. They hold the Shen ult. They get one, they get two, they get out. But man, it wasn't clean by TL.
Fighting in this situation is so dangerous because of what YiJin can do. Flowers, you talked earlier on about how it can be difficult to get onto the backline. Well, if YiJin is free to just sit in the brush, utilize his stealth, and just walk onto DoubleLift, he can just chunk him out. And Olleh, I didn't think he was going to eat him at first because he was stuck in that tongue lash animation, but he fortunately comes to the rescue of DoubleLift, and now the team is split apart, and this is the best case scenario for EVOS.
Just a really bizarre start where Pobelter just found himself off the wall, away from his teammate, then got headbutted to it. They continue to chase, they continue to chase. They think they can clean them up with how low DoubleLift is. But Impact actually ulting early surprised the enemy team because he ulted in brush, then was just there for the flash taunt. EVOS say, screw that, let's just get Baron.
EVOS is on to Baron already. They're burning it down really rapidly. 1/3 HP. TP coming in. Drake is taken down, but DoubleLift's not anywhere near the fight. Can Liquid do it? Yes, they can! The god of the Baron pit! Xmithie steals another one, a double kill for Impact. Slay's taken low, grabs himself a kill in return. Olleh with the Devour, looking to take him down. One more slap of the tongue, and Slay's out of there too. It's 4 for 1 going the way of Team Liquid, along with the Baron.
What are with these Baron steals today? 2 from Broxah, 1 from Xmithie, and his second of the tournament. Team Liquid. No, they don't have the optimal Baron set, but yes, EVOS, they took a risk, and Xmithie punishes them for it.
There's a value in being clutch, and these LCS junglers today, and Xmithie recently has been able to do that as well. But now it's the Split Push Kings with the Baron. How they got it, the journey there, let's ignore it. The result, however, is very large.
All we're looking is at who crossed the finish line, and Xmithie was the man to do it. Let's take another look.
So we can see Olleh and Xmithie are hanging around, and they have the pink ward in along with the teleport to keep it alive. And the thing is that the mid and AD are nowhere near available, so this is all on Xmithie for Team Liquid. Where does the damage come from? Ooh, so yeah, he just fails to smite. I believe you can still smite in a taunt.
You can.
But the amount of burst damage coming out from the rest of EVOS, he wasn't expecting it, and that allowed Xmithie to secure.
And he was low health, and that meant that it was just caught in a couple of different scenarios, none of them great. Just really been trying to make something happen, YiJin, and while we rewarded it for him for it earlier, now it's starting to get away with him. Now they're getting a bit desperate. The Baron is probably the last, death knell here for the side of EVOS, because the comp really doesn't function as easily in the 5v5 as TL's.
Team Liquid also with 4 of those Elemental Drakes. I want to harken back to what we talked about earlier, mentioning those, because they did secure yet another one as the Baron happened. as they push down the top side. Ornn ultimate coming through. Olleh going to go ahead, preemptively eat DoubleLift before the second part is even shot back out. Wants to keep him protected. Turret falls in the bottom lane in the meantime. That means there's only one tier 2 left standing. YiJin wants to come around, flank these guys from the side. DoubleLift first one into the brush. Immediately gobbled up by Olleh, kept safe. Stand United comes in. Team Liquid now forced to make this fight happen. YiJin already dead. Slay going to be forced to flash out. Pobelter looking for damage. A double kill for DoubleLift as POB will fall to Slay as he looks to pursue. 3 still running on the side of EVOS. Impact wanting to lead the charge here as Olleh makes the cutoff, trying to stop Slay. Instead, he's going to be isolated and likely taken down. Slay doing a lot of work, putting a lot of damage down, but Team Liquid still has the edge.
What looked like a beautiful teamfight setup for Liquid ended kind of not the way they wanted. A couple of individuals going a little too far, one could say, and making some rather interesting plays will still result in a tower going in favor of Liquid.
And it's the start I want to start with, because popping over with the blast plant actually let DoubleLift press W and have free target acquisition with his own extra terrain of being away from the enemy team. So that part was beautiful. Then they tried to work out how can we chase for these further kills, but DoubleLift by the end of this clip is so far away that he can never do any more damage.
Exactly.
The start here is beautiful.
This was the double assassination we talked about, and DoubleLift, he's in a fine position along with Pobelter, putting in a good position himself. That narrow choke point with all of his damage is good. And then that was not. No. Flashing into Slay, 3-item AD carry, still has a lot of damage. And then Olleh goes in behind. DoubleLift tries to join him, and then maybe he was expecting an AD carry to be with him, and then Olleh's like, wait a minute, I'm alone.
We talked a lot about invitations. I'm not sure he wanted that invitation. He certainly didn't take it. He didn't show up to that party, and unfortunately, his friend went down.
That's not a fun party to be invited to. 6,759 damage in the last team fight. That's not just jumping into an AD carry, that's jumping into Kai'Sa. One of the strongest AD carries at the current iteration of the game, and Slay is at the point where if Team Liquid keeps giving him these opportunities, he may just yet be able to carry. His team is still down 12,000 gold, so it is one hell of a task. We'll see if they're up to it as DoubleLift, Olleh, and Xmithie look to push here in the mid lane. Olleh, once again, doing a good job with the Devours, keeping DoubleLift away from any sort of punishment.
And it's keep it simple time. Roll down the mid lane, just try and play through one lane, and start his ult very early.
Yeah, that was a really, really quick one of those as Olleh uses the Devour yet again, this time to keep Xmithie safe. RonOP, ult or not, he is out of there. DoubleLift grabs that kill. YiJin on the flank, trying to find somebody, but they're all too clumped up. Stark also in some danger now. Impact on the back line, looking to keep those carries occupied. Stark will tank as long as he can. Underneath the turret goes Impact. Olleh trying to save him, pops the thick skin, getting away from the Kai'Sa. Warzone forced to stay in the back, has to keep Slay okay. Team Liquid gets a little bit sloppy underneath the turret. They still want to continue to push. They've got the couple of Ocean Drakes as well to keep the regeneration up there. YiJin coming around from behind. Turret should fall before he can make his way in here. YiJin has now found himself isolated. Oh, Impact with the taunt.
Do we call that luck or skill?
Skill.
Skill, baby.
Landing the taunt onto YiJin. Team Liquid secured the bot tower, a little bit messy. I don't feel they needed to go for the dive. They had a minion wave coming up, they had a numbers advantage, but fortunately they all survived, they secured the tower, and they still come out the victors.
A long replay to discuss here. Stark used ult super early to try to get Pobelter, I guess, despite the fact the rest of TL would be there. So that's one big tool down. When they kill RonOP and put down a Weaver's Wall that at first looks really good, the problem here for TL is they see Stark and they ask if his flash is down. The answer is yes. A massive Inspire shield keeps him alive, and then it could have potentially been turned around.
And this is where we see Team Liquid. They don't want to retreat just yet. They still have 5 members, and YiJin isn't under the tower, so they feel that they can secure it. But with the good ward placement from behind, they're prepared for the flank. And then Impact, he reads him like a book. He predicts every single move he could make.
If I was a bug, where would I be?
Yeah.
Right here.
There was not really any reason for him to go straight onto Pobelter and try to run back, and it's no cost for Impact. It's going to be energy on the Shen, so why not go for it and get it? It looked really cool, and he gets to say, yep, all calculated.
Them Korean top laners, man.
Yep.
Well, it puts them in a spot where they've got a 13,000 gold lead. They've got the drop with the AD carry. This is the pick that matters. You get Slay. The world is your oyster. Let's see if Team Liquid can find those pearls. They've got an exposed inhibitor in the bottom side. They've got a mid lane turret under siege. What can they break in this base? Inhibitor already down. They've got the other members in the mid lane looking to get that push started as well. Baron, live in 5 seconds.
And with Slay dead, it's time to brute force. The minion wave is coming out. They have a lot of different options here. I think a lot of teams would just take the inhibitor turret and back away. But they decide, okay, 25 seconds of no Slay, let's get that Baron.
I think it's an easy pickup for Team Liquid, and just want to highlight the power of vision. The ward has now faded, but that same ward that spotted the YiJin flank was what spotted Slay out of position and allowed Team Liquid to get the pick. But EVOS, they don't want to give this up for free. Unfortunately, they don't have a choice.
YiJin tries to come around, make some sort of a miracle steal of his own, but instead, he's forced to run away as RonOP will be the sacrificial Alistar thrown under the bus as Team Liquid catches him out. There's no way for the team to save him. YiJin just heads toward top side, says, I can't stop anything these guys are trying to do. I might as well grab a tier 2 turret, but Impact is quickly going to ruin those aspirations.
Doing his best Stark impersonation from the game against Fnatic yesterday, and sadly in this game, it's not going to matter. They roll through mid lane. Slay may be a strong duelist, can't deal with the 4-man group of TL.
And remember, both these teams at 1 and 5, this was the do-or-die game that they needed to even be within contention of making it to the group stages. With so many teams at 4 and 3 right now, Team Liquid pretty much have to win everything to keep their dreams alive.
And that winning everything starts with winning this. And you need to be convincing in the way that you win this as well. Considering these are the two teams at the bottom, you don't want to barely eke by in this game. You want to put on a show that says, hey, we're coming back, we're going to contend with the rest of the teams.
Now, we're almost ready for the curtain call, so a lot of the show has already happened, and Team Liquid have been a little bit up and down, so it certainly wasn't, flawless execution in closing this particular game, but they can really keep it simple. They have extra wards because they have a relic shield jungler, so they have access to the extra wards, the Eye of the Watchers. They can roll down a long lane. They already have 2 inhibitors down. All about the closeout and Impact. He comes with his Titanic Hydra and the Banner of Command, and in this open field, sadly, the Kha'Zix has no role.
Team Liquid charging down the top lane. Impact at the front. DoubleLift right behind. Weaver's Wall to zone EVOS away.
Beautiful.
Exactly as you would want to see it. A textbook approach to taking down the last remaining bastion of defense here before the Nexus itself. DoubleLift just not afraid whatsoever to walk up towards these guys. The Kathian Rain finds its way onto him. It's going to be the Ornn ult in the back line. RonOP also looking to juggle these guys around. In the back line they go, but YiJin is gone. RonOP will join him as Team Liquid finds themselves in a 5 versus 3. Stark will be the next target. DoubleLift still looking to find that damage. Slay nearly drops, and DoubleLift secures the kill with a double kill for himself. They're onto the Nexus turrets, and those will not stand for long. Team Liquid, 19-5, 36 minutes in, 5 Drakes. They get their win, and they stay alive in MSI.
Team Liquid find their second win of the tournament. They claim revenge over EVOS, who was able to best them before, and this is where the climb begins for them. You can see not elation on their faces because they know there is still a long journey to go. And they will be going up against Fnatic later today. A must-need win to still stand a chance of making it to the semi-final.
And if we zoom in on this game, just to close it out here, I like how they approached the draft to get to what ended up being a pretty comfortable victory, hiccups and all. Specifically, counter-picking support, holding on to the Tahm Kench, which fits for the Kog'Maw, but remember, it's Tahm Kench for Olleh, who's already had struggles on the pick this tournament, and they didn't want to blind pick it, so they left last pick to Olleh, a player who wasn't even playing a couple of days ago. So they got the right path, they followed it down. A couple of hiccups, but largely the win that TL need.
But we've got to remember as well, Xmithie Baron steal. That could have very much been a Baron in favor of EVOS. And while the EVOS Baron itself was not perfect setup, it wasn't a perfect play, the fact is that they were the ones in position, they were the ones rushing it down. And if Xmithie didn't come in clutch, this could have been a different game.
All right, so 2 Baron steals from Fnatic, 1 from Team Liquid. A lot of people are saying, I need to see these 2 teams play and see who gets the Baron. I'm going to say, can we please have some setups from one of the team to stop the steals? No stealing, no enemy junglers.
Only
get in the pit.
junglers, get into 50 health, let's see who wins.
That's all Baron is. We change it to an objective where it only has 50 health and it's only vulnerable if you're both in the pit.
We're not playing a flash game. We're playing a team game. Stuff them in there.
Well, Xmithie has got to be proud of what he was able to do in that game, securing that. And not only was Xmithie's Smite steal on point, Impact Stand United, constantly protecting the team. Olleh with the Devours. You mentioned the struggles that he has had on the champion earlier in the tournament. This time, he was keeping DoubleLift safe. Anytime it looked like they were going after that Kog'Maw, he was immediately protected, and the Void Hunter could not find the dog.
Unfortunately, not for Slay, but very fortunate for Team Liquid. And they won a couple of successful fights, and it means a lot for the standing Flowers.
Well, let's go ahead and check in with how those standings look halfway through the day. Do or die for EVOS in their next game against Kingzone is the state of play for them right now. They can at best tie for 4th place.
RNG, they face Flash Wolves in our next game, and we roll through here. RNG, Fnatic, and Kingzone all with the same game score.
Yeah, and it's still in Team Liquid's hands to secure a semi-final spot as they go up against Fnatic later in the day. Still a 2-score record, 2-win record gap between them and Fnatic, but getting a win over their European rivals would certainly be great for them.
Well, to hear the thoughts on Team Liquid's win, let's go ahead and check in with Shox and Liquid's jungler.
Thank you very much indeed here with Xmithie, with a fantastic Baron steal once again, and the win over EVOS, your second win. What was the focus going into this game?
I guess our main focus for today was just, I guess we have nothing else to lose, and we just need to do our best, and if the best is not enough, then we tried, I guess.
A good, I guess, mindset to come into this day. As you said, it will be difficult. There has been a lot of ups and downs, but you have been able to show glimpses of what Team Liquid should look like when you play well. So what has, or how have the last days been for you from your perspective?
Well, I guess it was obviously frustrating for us. It's our first international stage, and for us losing it is like, we've won a lot in an ALCS, and then it's so different in the international stage. Everyone's really, really good. And then sometimes we can't keep up, but I feel like we still didn't show our true potential in the stage, and we're still figuring out why we couldn't do that.
You say the road will be hard, which is true, but every win you pick up is a great win and is a chance to show what you can do. Next up is that Fnatic game at the end of the day, which is always heated, but it would be very important for you guys to win it if you want to keep any chances of going through. What are your thoughts for that clash?
Yeah, definitely the Fnatic game is like one of our most important games. Well, obviously we have to win pretty much almost everything to get in. Well, I guess like always, like you said, like there's the heated NA-EU rivalry. But yeah, hopefully we do our best and we can do much better than today.
I hope you guys can keep it going. Thank you so much for talking to me, Xmithie.
4 versus 1 against an Alistar with no ultimate. Ignite already going to be used. Pulverize tries to flash, but still brought down. Find himself caught. The Bug's got to be careful not to get squashed. Has to try to flash away the follow-up from Pobelter, but YiJin wants to come around. Stand United can come through. DoubleLift will be protected by that one, but Xmithie will not. YiJin has to jump out. Stark still going to be on the front line. Olleh drops to Slay. Drake is taken down, but DoubleLift's not anywhere near the fight. Can Liquid do it? Yes, they can! Immediately gobbled up by Olleh, kept safe. Stand United comes in. Team Liquid now forced to make this fight happen. YiJin already dead. Slay going to be forced to flash out. Pobelter looking for damage. YiJin has now found himself isolated. Oh, impact! Team Liquid, 19-5, 36 minutes in, 5 Drakes. They get their win, and they stay alive in MSI.